Uh. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
All right, so we got a little quiz review. 2 pages of this. Got this side, this side. Not all of this is actually going to be on the quiz. Everything from here down is not going to be. Initially it was, but since I'm out now, that was a bit of a surprise. Everything below this line is not on quiz. But everything else is. Not everything, but everything else is. All right, so let's get working on those. So back to the right side. There we go. We got review, what the RV stands for. We're going to try and do this correctly and get prepped for our quiz that's coming up. We've done plenty of review on everything on the left. We've done some on the right, but now we're trying to bring it all together. So number 1, what is another name for EO? So looking at this line, it's got 2 arrows on it, so it's a line. There's EO. Well, the easy one is just to flip it around. OE. And I'm good to go. Or if I want some alternatives, I can call that GOOGEGGE. So O, G, 2 arrows, GO, double arrow, GE, and line EG. Number 2, what is the opposite right of EO? If this is EO, headed this way, then the opposite is EG, going the opposite. So if you notice, EO starts with an E, goes that direction. Your answer should start with that same E, that first letter, and go in the opposite direction. So EG, not GE. And if you notice, I wrote that as a line. That should be a ray. There we go. That's better. Number 3, what is another name for plane M? Plane M, there's my M. This is your plane. Looks like a parallelogram because technically flat on the paper it is, but it's supposed to represent a flat piece of paper, angled and drawn on a sheet of paper, ends up looking like a parallelogram. So what's another name for M? Plane M. Pick any 3 points, but they can't be on the same line. So you cannot pick GEO as your name of the plane, but you can pick GE and another letter, GO and another letter, EO and another letter. Or UC and then pick one of these, whatever you want. So let's go with plane UCG. What I shared is something that kind of makes a triangle. Doesn't have to be a specific type, just kind of look like one. 3 points. So there's my answer. Plane UCG. Number 5. Name 3 points that are collinear. Oh, sorry. Number 4. What point is the intersection of LK and plane M? LK is this line right through the middle. We've done quite a few of these. L goes through E, goes through K. So when it asks, what is the intersection of LK, it's asking what does it have in common with that plane. So LK, L is not on that plane M. K is not on that plane M, but E right in the middle is on that plane M. So what do they have in common? That line has E on it. That plane M has E on it. So what is the intersection? That is point E. Next one, number 5. Name 3 points that are collinear. Well, I've got GEO. It's probably the quickest one that people will put down. G, E, and O. But as an alternative, you get the fancy one down the middle. L, E, K. Those 3 are on the line. Either one of those work. Neither is better than the other. They're both correct answers. Number 6. Name 3 points that are coplanar. So coplanar, any 3 points that are on the same plane. So I can pick any of these 3 and group it together. This one, it doesn't matter the order. I can pick GEO because I'm not trying to give it a name. I'm just trying to say which 3 are on there. Well, those 3 are on the plane. So I can pick any of those 3. So I'm just going to write U, C, G, E, O, and then you can pick 3. Pick 3. Pick any 3. Number 7. Name a point that is not coplanar to point G. Point G is on plane M. U, C, G, E, O are all on that plane. So which ones are not on that plane that are not coplanar? You got K down below and L up above. So I'm going to put K or L. So these questions should look a lot like our PLP practice or point line plane practice. Again, you had those because I know that you were having some trouble. So we went right to it and made sure that you had that down. All right, also on this quiz, we're going to copy a line segment and bisect a line segment. You guys should be ready for those. It's been a while since we've done them, so let's practice them a bit. And let me go grab my compass. This was a gift to me. A lot of precision tools in here. Kind of cool, actually. So compass, these have 2 points. There's no pencil here, and this is for a really fine-tooth pencil. And these for bigger sizes, and then for making some really huge circles if I need to. This is the one that we're going to need. So I'm going to put the rest away. Now let's get back to it. So to copy a line segment, first I'm going to need a line because I'm going to copy something. I'm going to take this line, move it somewhere else. All right, so let's go. I guess I should use a pencil with this to stay consistent. So I'll draw some line underneath. So draw some line underneath. Just needs to be longer than the other line. This first point over here, I'm going to call G prime. So I know that it's a copy of this original G. And then this is where the compass part comes in. Take my compass, open it up. Put the pointy part on G. And then I'm essentially measuring it by putting the pencil lead on O. And then I'm going to pick that up, move it over to G prime. And now I'm going to draw an arc, not a huge one, just a small one. Crosses over it. And where it crosses is the exact same distance from G to O down here. I'm going to call this my new O prime, or my new O. Calling it O prime. And I've now just copied a line segment using a compass. Next one. Number 9. Now I'm going to bisect a line segment. I'm not copying this. I'm not going to use my ruler. I'm going to bisect this line. I'm going to cut it in half. Cut in half. And that means I don't need to copy it and put it somewhere else. I'm just going to take this line and cut it in half. So again, I'm going to take my compass, pointy part, pencil lead, and I'm going to put the pointy part on O, the left side. And I'm going to make sure that this goes beyond halfway. It can be like way too far, but it's off the paper. That's not helpful. Go further out if I want. I'm just going to keep it within the lines. Or do you know what? Just in case, I'm going to make it the same as D. That way, if you're trying to keep it simple, it's almost the same as the one above. And on this one, I'm going to make a huge arc. And then, yeah, I definitely squeeze that along the way. Let me just double check. D. Yeah, I messed up there. Okay. I got it now. I'm going to take it, flip it around, put the pointy part on D. Now I'll do an arc from the other direction. And now I should have 2 points with a cross. Well, the arcs cross. So down here, that's this point. And up above, that's this point. Definitely looks better when I did it the second time. And now I'm going to draw a line through those 2 points from the one above to the one below. When I do that, where it crosses the line OD in the middle, that point right there is my midpoint. I'm going to call it M for midpoint. I'm going to make sure that people know that M is the midpoint. I'm also going to share what I know about it, which is OM is congruent to MD. It's the same length. So OM equals MD. This segment is the same as that segment in its length. It's also congruent in its shape. We'll get back to that another time. So M is the midpoint. OM equals MD. That's what I know about it. Use the compass to figure that out. All right. I probably should have done some sort of a epic intro to my compass because of how fancy it looked, but maybe another time. Or
Let's go. If you want it, you can get it. Let me know. Let me know. I'm about to break this thing up. Let's go. Let's go. If you want it, you can get it. Let me know. Let me know. I'm about to break this thing up. Let's go. If you want some, come get some.
nah. All right, so now we're gonna do number 10. I've got a bit of a typo on this one. For this one, we're gonna say T is the midpoint. So if T is the midpoint and ER, this whole thing is 42, and that's in the middle, then these have to be half the size. So 42 divided by 2 equals 21. So ET equals 21. All right, now number 11, I had a typo on this one, so I've updated it. Find ET if ER equals 42. So it looks like the same one above. But now I'm telling you that TR equals 20. So I'm telling you this right here is 20. It looks like it's still in the middle, but I don't know for sure. But going off of this distance, it's not. It's just a little bit off. And up here, I'm being told it's right in the middle. So I've got to trust it. And so I know those two pieces are the same. But here, this is 20. So if the whole thing is 42, and that part's 20, that is just 42 minus 20, gives me 22. So ET equals 22. And I was trying to show the difference between the two types of problems that you might have with midpoint. For the second one, if you really want to, you can set this up like algebra. I don't know this, that's x. And I can tell that x plus 20 equals the whole thing, which is 42. And let's segment addition postulate in action right there. So to solve for x, I'm just going to subtract 20 from both sides. Get x equals 22, and hopefully you realize this problem is just a little bit of algebra in the middle of a geometry class. So there's number 11. Well, let's flip back over to the other side. We got 2 left at the top of this, and they'll be ready for our quiz. So number 12. Find x if find x if fr is 3x plus 6 and if ri equals 30. And so what piece of information do I need to give you? I need to tell you that r is the midpoint. I'm going to have to update this for next year. Sorry, guys. So r is the midpoint. That means this part and this part are the same. That means I'm allowed to write these equal to each other. So 3x plus 6 equals 30. And if I'm solving for x, I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides. So again, just got a little algebra in the middle of this problem. 3x equals 24. I'm going to get the x by itself. So divide by 3. I get x equals 8. And that's all that this question is asking for. It asks for length. You're going to have to plug it back in. But for this one, we're good. Okay, let's slide over to number 13. This one says find dA or dy. That's the whole length. If dA is 3x minus 8 and ay is x plus 12. And for this one, again, I should have put in this a is the midpoint. Because then what I can do is, sorry, that one is congruent to that one. That means these two must be equal to each other. So if I'm solving that like an algebra equation, subtract x from both sides. 3x minus x is 2x. Bring everything else down. Minus 8 comes down. Equals comes down. 12 comes down. If you notice, we're a very similar problem to the one to the left now, after we've done one step. So I'm getting x by itself. I'm going to get rid of this 8. The opposite of a negative 8 is positive 8. I'm going to get 2x equals 20. Get x by itself. Get rid of that 2 by dividing by 2. And get x equals 10. This is where most people would say we're done, but you're going to lose 1 point. Why? Because I'm asking for dy, not for x, dy. So dy is this whole thing, and I know x. So I got to take x and plug it back into something here so I can figure out an actual length. So I'm going to take it and put it in here. That looks like the easiest. So x plus 12 gives me this length. X is 10 now. Plus that 12 means I've got 22. But that's from the middle A to Y. So if that's 22, and that's the midpoint, this side is 22. So what's the length all the way across? I'm just going to add those two together. 22 plus 22 equals 44. And that's my final answer. Let's go.
Want it, you can get it, let me know, let me know. I'm about to break this thing up. If you want some, come get some. Cause where I'm from, we so big. And everybody knows somebody that knows somebody that knows something about it. And I want answers now. Who, what, where, and why. See, a lot of dudes like to act the fool now. You know